Yes! We are back. You are back. I'm very grateful you keep coming back. This is part of our educational series, and we like to address some of the biggest items and issues that come up, whether in group and therapy, and how to explore that and actually get solution, so we can continue moving forward. And the theme of this week that continues to come up is how to have effective communication. What I mean by that, and more specifically, is when there is resistance, when there's a disagreement, an argument, when there's some kind of behavior or the elephant in the room, how do you address that? How do you go through and have effective confrontational communication? Gosh, that's a mouthful, isn't it? How to have that confrontation in a healthy way so we get solution. And so a couple of different people teach this. We've kind of pulled some different steps from different places and put together. And it's an 8-step process that kind of ties it all together that we do. So I like breaking things down into steps and writing it down because I get flustered when I get frustrated. And if I can go step by step, it helps me stay in that solution mindset, that growth mindset, so I can stay active with the person that I'm having this confrontation with and genuinely stay connected with them so we can find that outcome. So we're gonna go right into the 8 steps. The first step is making sure that the person knows you're for them. You're in their corner, you're wanting to continue moving forward with them, you're championing them. A lot of the times when we get into confrontation, the circuit breaker internally gets kicked and we go to fight or flight. And so knowing, hey, this is a safe place, this person is for me, and so that's the first thing that we'll do is let them know, hey, we're for you, we're glad you're here. If it's a family, I'm so glad you're my mom, or so glad you're my son, daughter, whatever that is, and I want you to know that I'm here because I care about you. So the first step is for. The second step is to actually address the problem. And we like doing this from a data or observational standpoint to remove the emotional or the blame or the judgment. So not, you do this all the time, but here's the problem. And it can stem from anything, but what we want to look at is how do I display or at least state my observation of what's going on? And we keep it data driven, X, Y, Z. The problem is when we talk about finances, I notice that you walk away and we're not able to address the financial aspect or whatever it is, but you get the idea. So to actually address the problem without that judgment. Step 3 is to show the solution of what we're looking for. So really pragmatically of coming up with either one or multiple solutions. And a lot of the times here, we'll actually ask the person, hey, here's the problem. We want to get a solution that works for both of us. What do you suggest we do? And we'll hear the person out. And so looking for a solution, making it measurable through whatever metrics you're going to do, step 1, 2, 3. So with that financial situation of, why don't we spend time, 30 minutes once a week, and we go over the bills for the week so we can see where we're over or underspending. I know when it comes to finances, people just go, just the white noise, right? So maybe that's not the best example, but it just popped in my head. But so that is step 3, is the solution. Step 4 is, this is where I like to actually take some of the brunt of the frustration or finger pointing, if you will. Every single problem that I've had in my life or another person has had with me, I've been part of that problem. And so what we do is we accept some of that accountability. And so in different examples, by sitting down and saying, you know what, part of this issue is on me and I'm noticing that I'm not clearly defining how I feel about it or stating where my comfort level is with finances or whatever it is, of taking some of that partial blame. This is so difficult for most people because the ego jumps up so stinking quick and is very, very quick to say, no, I'm not wrong, they're wrong, I'm right, I'm gonna prove it to them. And so this 4th step is usually the most difficult, but for those that learn how to master this aspect, even again, only if I have a 1% and they're 99%, I own my 1% and say, hey, I think I may be adding to the issue because I've been doing this. And so I wanna own that so we can grow through this. What it does is kind of like a peace offering, if you will. It's like that olive branch. It says, look, I'm not out to get you. I'm taking some ownership. I genuinely want to figure this out together so we can move forward in our growth, whether it's relationship, business, partnership, sobriety, whatever it is. And so by taking that ownership, it's incredible. That 4th step is usually the biggest that gets that person to go, oh, you know what? No, I'm sorry. And that's typically what happens. I would say 9 times out of 10, when I take some partial responsibility, the person then goes, you know what, no, it's not you, it's me. I've been really struggling with this and I've just been projecting. It's really cool. It's like, whoa, talk about growth, that's awesome. But it took me pioneering this space and moving forward of taking that ownership and accountability. So that's step 4. Step 5 is then we want to hear them out. We want to listen. A lot of people told me, hey, there's a reason why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. I want to listen twice as much as I'm talking. And so by hearing them out and asking them genuinely, why do you think this is happening? Or what are your thoughts on this? What solutions do you see? How can I help? What do you think we can do differently? But just hearing them out, it's amazing how we all just want to be heard and understood. And when it comes to confrontation, if I feel heard, then more times than not, I'm willing to actually get to the solution. And so by hearing them out, that's step 5, that's a huge one. 6th step is if it's continuing or it's so damaging, we have to jump in and actually implement a consequence. That's what we talk about. Here's the consequence for this. And we don't want to railroad them. A lot of the times we talk about the consequence before we get to this aspect. So if this behavior continues, what kind of consequence should we come up with together? A, B, whatever it is, great. So we can mutually agree, if this behavior happens, then this will be the consequence. Fantastic. So it's already been predetermined ahead of time. And we find that that works a lot better when we have confrontations of the other person knowing what the potential consequence is. So if you've already had that talk, then we're implementing the consequence. If that talk hasn't happened yet, then we say, hey, why don't we look at what the consequence will be if this happens again, because we want to change this. Right now there's no consequences. So sometimes you can go ahead and skip that step. What is that, step 6 of the consequence? But if it does, again, you're putting a consequence on the behavior, not the person, and it helps to delineate between the two. Step 7 is, I like closing, they call it the sandwich technique of just reaffirming, hey, listen, I'm so glad we had this talk. I really want you to know, not just by what I'm saying, but by seeing my action, that I really am in your corner, on your side, and want to see this growth. And I'm cheering for you, rooting for you. If it's more of a parent or authoritative, if it's an equal, of saying, hey, I want to see you get this, I want to get this, and I just want you to know I'm in your corner and I'm excited of what is yet to come. And then that's 7. And then the 8th final step, this is called the follow-up. Anywhere, I would say between 4 to 24 hours later, I like doing just another touch. I call it a check-in. It's like the check touch of, a lot of times I'll come, if it's a client or even if it's someone who I'm really close with in my life personally, I'll come up and I'll say, hey, what we talked about earlier, that was kind of some heavy lifting stuff and was pretty serious. I just wanted to check in to see how you're doing and making sure that we're good. Just because we talked about some heavy stuff, I want us to know that we're good and we're growing forward. And with that 8 steps, so many times, the individual, well, I know what it's done to me, I feel really good, kind of like, wow, they're acknowledging that was some heavy stuff. And they're not coming down on me or not looking at me any differently or judging me, especially if I made the mistake. It just keeps us so open, and it's easier to actually work through and to move forward with. So those are the 8 steps. To summarize, going off memory as quick as I can. Number 1 is for the person. Number 2 is presenting the problem free of judgment. Number 3 is what the solution is. Number 4 is me taking some responsibility or accountability to help pave the way. Number 5 is to hear them out. Number 6 is consequence, if there is one. Number 7 is, again, just affirming that you're for them and want to see this growth. And number 8 is the 4 to 24 hour follow-up check-in. I'm hoping that helps. Go ahead and give it a try. Would love your feedback of how it helps. I know within marriages it helps immensely. Significant others it helps. Parent-child it helps. In the whole treatment setting and recovery it helps really well. Sponsor-sponsee relationships. At work it works. Holy cow, just about everywhere it works because there's confrontation. So I'm excited to hear back what you got out of this and how you're able to implement it.